I think that was very helpful. I just wanted to ask a question which is related to Metis' question, and it's I feel like a Durkheimian moment coming over me. I mean, one of the things one's looking at is it were, the conventions of being civilised and politeness, and actually you teach your daughter both in her interest, because to be a person is to be a polite person, actually to have courtesy. And one of the odd things about the contemporary world is that the domain of courtesy is very challenged. So if you look at Comment is Free on the Guardian website, I was with Andrew Brown, who runs the religious bit of the Guardian website, or even if it was unimportant and mean and as unchallenging, and you write something in the Guardian, it is rather startling, actually, the kind of response you get to people, from people very, very quickly, which calls into, almost immediately calls into account what you look like, what your gender is, what age you are, who you were married to, these very, very personally, no doubt how big I am. I can't remember who you called me a fat cow, but I mean, they would have done. And so it seems to me that the territory of courtesy has become challenged, and that one of the things we're looking at is that you can be very offensive to somebody, but courteously. And it's holding that line is one of the things that, for instance, the internet has made, so that you can be anonymously rude about somebody in a way that in this room you wouldn't be rude to me, because although I don't know your name, you're not anonymous, because we're in the same human space. And I think one of the things that we're looking at across these things is where it is that one should be courteous, and what are the rules of courtesy, and where it is that you can really challenge ideas. And then beyond that, as I think your distinctions were extremely helpful, where courtesy's got nothing to do with it, because it's so the response that you get back is so absolutist. So can we just talk about courtesy a bit? Because courtesy is a matter of, it seems to me, of habit and civilization. It's a Montaigne sort of issue, courtesy. Is courtesy in your, where does courtesy fall?
Yeah, I would use a slightly different word. I use the word civility.
Yes.
Which I think is a broader, larger concept. One of the qualities of civil society is civility. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. British diplomats, when they're going to, when they start a sentence and they say, with great respect, you know they're going to say something very rude. It's an absolutely certain sign. But that's fine, So with great respect, please. I actually largely disagree with you in the sense that, let the anonymous bloggers rant. Let them rant. We will go elsewhere. We will go to another site. I mean, I don't think you can control the web in that sense. But if I'm the Guardian, and I'm concerned about the quality of conversation on my site, then I'll tell you what I will do. I will do what Slate is just starting to do, which is to try and squeeze out anonymity. Because I think, and I don't know what New Statesman does, but anonymity, I think, is often the key.
We allow anonymity, and my colleague James is here. We take most of the abuse on the sites. We're lucky. All you've got is fat. Usually we've got much worse. We get the abuse. The internet is the greatest invention of our lifetime, I believe, but it's also liberated every nutcase cow on the planet, on right and left. So, I mean, I take a slightly different line from Timothy. The problem with Timothy's argument, which he expressed so articulately before, is this idea that you mentioned religious expression. You said, let people say what they have to say. It's dare I say it, we're here in Oxford, land of dreaming spires and towers and ivory towers. It's very theoretical. In the real world, it doesn't take into account the harm that is done to civil society. It doesn't take, it's all very well, for example, since everyone wants to talk about Islam, 2 million Muslims live in this country. It's all very well to say everyone should have the right to say whatever we like about the Prophet, and we can argue that yes or no. Fine. But does anyone stop to say what the impact that is, what impact that has, that speech has, on the 2 million people who have those beliefs, who happen to be a minority and quite a weak minority in this country? And it's all very easy to say from our kind of ground here in Oxford University, sitting in our chairs, let us say what we have to say about faith, without taking into account how that translates to a 13-year-old kid on an estate in Bradford who gets on the end of that speech, which isn't being delivered by Professor Timothy Garton-Ash, but is being delivered by a skinhead from the English Defence League. And I think there's a big distinction there, and I don't think sometimes we in the media or in academia recognise